Warm greetings, everyone. I am Shivani Sharma, Vice President of Dinero, your host for today, as we are back with yet another episode of our talk show, Dabble with Dinero. If you're working on something that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. Today, we have someone with us who is doing something that she is really passionate about. We have with us Mrs. Sania Garg, who is the principal data scientist with more than 9 years of expertise in leveraging advanced analytics techniques and machine learning to help organizations with their digital and analytics strategies. She has an extensive experience in implementing end-to-end analytics transformations, which enable businesses to adopt a data-driven approach and has a wide industry exposure, having worked with auto, telecom, manufacturing, construction, and banking clients. She is extremely passionate about promoting data science literacy and expertise and is closely involved with developing content and delivering analytics based training for various clients. We have with us Ishika Garg, Secretary of Dinero, as the moderator for this episode. So, without any further delay, let's start with today's episode.
Good afternoon. I'm Ishika Garg, the Secretary of Dinero and the moderator for today. And I would like to start by thanking you for taking out your valuable time to be a part of our talk show.
Thanks, Ishika and Shivani. It's my pleasure to be here and to be speaking with the members of your society and college.
Firstly, I would like to start by asking you what you're currently doing at McKinsey and how did you get there?
Okay. So I am now Quantum Black is basically the you could say the analytics wing of McKinsey and Company. So Quantum Black actually used to be in the early 2000s. It started off in F1 racing. So they used to do analytics for F1 racing teams, specifically teams like McLaren, Ferrari, etc. And from there, they built their portfolio and became a very strong organization in analytics. This was then bought over by McKinsey, and now anything to do with analytics, digital transformation are housed within Quantum Black in McKinsey. So Quantum Black sort of retains its own identity, even though it has been brought over by McKinsey, just because they have a good the market, right, as an analytics firm. Now, what I do is I am a data scientist, which basically means, as Shivani said, right, that I help organizations in doing their digital and analytics transformation. So what we mean by digital and analytics transformation is firstly digitizing whatever you have. So whatever sort of data you're producing during your day-to-day operations, you take them and you put them from physical or what we call analog format into digital format. And then what do we do with that sort of data? Now, within that, I am a data scientist. There are several other roles within analytics as well. What I do is with that data, I simply build models or algorithms which help in either optimizing for something or predicting something, right? So this is my job with McKinsey. How I got here was serendipity, I would say. So I was pursuing my master's in economics. So I am a postgraduate in economics, and I just happened to sit for GenPact and it just so happened that I was placed in a very small team, a niche team which used to do analytics for credit cards. And so I had other classmates who got placed with like doing more core banking or finance work, but I somehow ended up in this sector. I didn't really seek for it because at that time data science or machine learning were just very abstract words. They were not so much in vogue as they are right now. So I just happened to be part of the team. And then as I started working, I realized that this is something which I love because I still retain some part of being an academician. So I still do a lot of studying, which I like to do. But at the same time, I'm also earning money. So I was like, this is great, right? And then it kept happening and happening. And throughout my career, I think it's just been like pure luck, because from Genpact, I then went to McKinsey, and it was just, like randomly someone just called me and said, hey, we have this job opportunity. Would you like to sit for the interview? And then within McKinsey, I kept, now I'm 5 years old in McKinsey. So from the first day when I joined McKinsey, I was like, I want to leave. And so I leave next month, I'll leave next month. And so I have never left. I am just here. And yeah, it's just really luck for me, and realizing that this is my passion.
So, what exactly is analytics in banking and finance?
Okay, so let me start with actually just talking about analytics in general and then going into banking and finance. Now, analytics is basically analyzing the data which you have, right? So, uh, suppose like you surf on Facebook, right? So, if you think about your general day, you wake up in the morning, say you are on Insta, whatever you're scrolling, whatever you're liking gets recorded. So you have generated that amount of data. Then suppose I don't want to cook breakfast, so I order something from Swiggy or Zomato. So that is another data point which gets recorded. So every person is basically generating lots and lots of data points, and every organization is collecting lots and lots of data. So now within that data, what we try to do within analytics is utilize various mathematical and statistical algorithms to recognize patterns in the data, to say come to insights like, this person, say if someone tries to profile me using the kind of, my online history and my transactions history, they would say, like this person is, say, I wouldn't like want to say middle aged, but middle aged, with married and working woman who, who's like ordering more stuff from outside, in terms of having more food, and maybe, is someone who likes to go out more as opposed to stay in, and has, like these sorts of likes in terms of Netflix history. So that sort of profile comes up, right? And then you can use that information to now sell me things which I like, or to now push me towards doing things which I like to do. So this is the kind of pattern detection you're doing in analytics. Now, in banking and finance, so analytics has applications everywhere, wherever there is data, wherever it is available in a digital format, like it is residing in a server somewhere, you can use analytics. Now, in banking and finance, if you think about it, then analytics can be basically used anywhere where data is being generated. So you could use it for your customers. So you could use, for instance, for a bank, you could use it for understanding what kind of customers you have, what kind of products you want to give them. So if someone has a simple savings account, would they want a fixed deposit, or would they want personalized banking service, or would they value getting a credit card with a high credit limit? So you could use analytics to decide what kind of products to sell to your existing customer, what kind of things your existing customers value. You can also use it to acquire new customers. Like if I have 3 people who don't have an account and who've called me and they say, I want an account, which one of them should I be giving an account to? Which one of them is less likely to have do fraud, or is more likely to be profitable for my business? So you could use analytics for that as well. Then moving on to something, so any you use analytics for what we call customer lifecycle management. Then you can use analytics in your operations. So for your operational purposes, for instance, where should my new bank branch be? Where should I locate an ATM? You could use analytics to decide such that you have maximum profit from making this operational decision. You could also use it to to help with your HR operations, right? So in a bank branch, how many relationship managers should I have? Should that bank branch be more loan specific, or should it do more retail banking, or should it do more corporate banking? So you could do everything around operations. You could also then use this to help with fraud and risk, right? So who is the most likely to default, say, on their credit card payment? Which person is has a spurious bank account? So this bank account is basically being used, say, for black money transactions. Or if someone, has opened a bank account under false names, you could use analytics to detect everything, things like that as well. um, you could even use it for collections, right? So basically by collections, what I mean is that when you're getting payments for something, so in banking, they charge you fees for several things, right? They'll charge you fees for banking services which are provided to you. A bank can charge you fees for, say, a credit card or debit card you are utilizing. So you can use analytics to flag which people are at the highest risk of defaulting on certain payments. Or you could use it to flag, things like you could plan. So I could say that, these particular groups of people will be making payments early. So accordingly, you can then plan like capitalization of your bank, etc. You can also use it to, forecast what will, say, the RBI policy be, what will be global banking and financial markets, what will they look like. So all of these you can do through analytics. In finance, so finance is actually one of the sectors where analytics has been used since a very long time. So maybe some of your, like if you've seen the movie The Big Short, right? This talks about how in finance analytics is being used, because whether a stock price will go up or down, this you can find out using analytics. And famously, many, there are some people who there are some scientists who are who've developed, these cutting edge machine learning algorithms, and they actually set up shop to, as a private broking agency to sell stocks, but it failed. They tried to predict stock prices, but I think it's using analytics, but somehow their company failed. But you could use analytics for doing financial decisions as well, and deciding what should your hedge fund look like, which stocks you should invest in, etc. So I hope that answers your.
Yes. So, what are the common applications of analytics in banking, and how is it different from the traditional system of doing things?
So yeah, I think I spoke a bit about, the applications part, right? So you are, using it for your marketing and sales, for targeting the right customers, for servicing your existing customers. Then you're also using for fraud detection, for your collections, for your operations. So these could be the common applications. Now, how this is different from traditional way of banking, and actually, anytime we go in to do an analytics transformation, this is the main difference, is basically the way in which you make decisions. So suppose you walk into a bank, right, and you apply for a loan. So traditionally, the way things are done, they would ask you for a set of documents, and then they would have a set of rules. Like if this person earns above X amount, if this person doesn't have any red flags in terms of if this person has never defaulted on a payment, if they have a loan and they've never defaulted on that. So they will have certain rules, and they will just assess on the basis of the rule. And then also at the end, there would be some sort of gut based instinct of the salesperson, that whether I want to give a loan to this person or not. So it becomes more of a subjective thing, which is person driven. So that is how that decision would be taken in a traditional way. What we are doing is we are sort of trying to remove the subjectivity from the decision making, making it much more objective. So firstly, what we will do is we will sharpen these rules. So these are some business rules which someone has developed, right? Which says a few managers got together and develop these rules based on their experience. So we will sharpen those rules using actual historical data. So we will say historically, even if a person has a loan and they didn't pay EMIs on that loan for X number of years. Even if that is the case, historically, data has shown us that if they say belong to a particular area, so if they live in a particular area, if they work in a particular sort of company, then they will still end up paying your loans. So this person would not have been given a loan otherwise based on these business rules and subjective decisioning. But because you have utilized data, looked at patterns, and historically you've seen who tends to pay your EMIs, so you will be able to give a loan to this person. So basically, you are trying to make something very subjective into an objective way of thinking. And if you think about it, this has a lot of implications for organizations, because imagine for a bank or for a financial company, each person they have, so even if they have 500 employees, each person is making decisions based on their gut or on subjective basis. So your decisions are much more likely to go wrong. But simply by using data backed decisioning approach, simply by using data backed decisioning approach and converting something which is subjective and gut based into objective insights, you can, simply by doing that, you'll see that you can get, like, say, a easily 5 to 10% uplift on your profit bottom lines. So it's quite powerful.
So, how do you see the banking industry evolving in light of the uh, data explosion we have today? Will it revolutionize the banking industry as well?
Yeah, I really think that data, the data explosion is going to revolutionize, and it is revolutionizing everything. So I'm sure everyone has heard things like buzzwords like big data, data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and we don't even realize it, but these things are actually driving a lot of our lives now, right? So something as simple as a Facebook feed or an Insta feed is completely based on machine learning algorithms. What you see versus what someone else sees is completely driven by machine learning algorithms. So I definitely think it is going to revolutionize the way we live. Particularly for banking. So the banking industry has traditionally been a very conservative industry just because of the amount of risk which is involved with every decision they take. So in that industry, now we see there is more acceptance of using data, because typically you would see bankers or finance persons, they are plucked, from very elite institutions, and they are chosen for their ability to make quick and intelligent decisions. So it's very difficult for them to let go of control and say, okay, an algorithm is going to tell me whether I buy or sell a stock. An algorithm is going to tell me whether I'm going to give a loan to this customer or not. So, but now people are accepting that. Once they have seen, there are many, many examples. I can quote an example of an Asian bank, which we worked with, right? And we basically changed end to end, we changed the way they completely operate, right? And they saw an uplift in their revenue of 8%, which is quite large. If you think about, for a bank, an uplift in revenue of 8%, right, in a single year. So as people see proof, yeah, there is definitely a shift in the banking and finance industry towards using data to take decisions, and this is just going to keep getting amalgamated, right? But having said that, I think also in general and specifically in banking and finance, there is a lot of talk now of data ethics, because the data which you're using is extremely personal data. So it is what we call personally identifiable data. So you would have heard of instances like HSBC and JP Morgan, right? They leaked, there was a hack, and customers' passwords and their transactions histories were leaked. So just imagine, that happening at a large scale, and someone actually using the data you are using to build an algorithm to actually funnel all the money from someone's account. So that sort of risk is always there. So what the banking industry is doing, which is very different from other industries where we see analytics being used commonly, is that they are proceeding, but there is always like a very big push in using the data in a properly anonymized, encrypted manner, which also has implications for how you store data. So you are not storing data, uh, say, in common cloud services like Amazon cloud services or Microsoft Azure cloud services. They have to build their own data infrastructure to store data in a much more secure format, which is not hackable. And also the kind of languages, the programming languages, etc., we use are very different for banking, just because there are some languages which give you much more security as opposed to others. So it is moving, and the industry is getting revolutionized by the use of big data. However, there is caution in terms of utilizing the personal data and making sure that it is being used in the right format.
So we keep hearing the buzzwords machine learning and artificial intelligence. Can you please elaborate a bit more on that?
Sure. And I think one of the main things here is, how I go to a lot of places to train people, or, when we talk to our clients, we talk about using analytics, and they always, at least one person always asks me, will we have something like Terminator, where you have Skynet and there is like this big machine who becomes super intelligent, much more intelligent than human beings, and ends up killing us? So that might happen, but not in another, like, say, 70, 80 years. So at least we are clear. But yeah, so coming back to these buzzwords, right? So um, what machine learning means is basically a set of, it's like a mathematical equation. Okay, so you are taking data. So you say you have data, right? I have like a set of numbers. Now what I want to do using machine learning is find the best function which fits those numbers. So find the best curve or line which is representative of those numbers, such that you are able to predict the next number. So if I have, something like 4, 9, 16, you would say that the next number in this series would be 25. So what you've done is you built a simple algorithm, right? You'll say the next number would be 25, then it would be 36, 49, because these are all squares of consecutive numbers. So you basically, that's what machine learning is trying to do. It is trying to find the best way to represent your data, such that then it is able to predict what will happen next, right? This is basically what an algorithm is. Now what machine learning is it utilizes various algorithms, and it utilizes the power of machines. So it is basically this kind of calculation of what should be my best function which fits the data, the machine is doing, right? And what we really mean by machine learning is that you tell the machine. So by machine, I mean like any CPU, any, basically a RAM backed object. You tell that object that you want to maximize, or you want to optimize for something. Like, say, I want to minimize the error I am getting from fitting the function to my data. So you tell the machine just that, and the machine is then going to continuously go through the same amount of data and continuously fit different sorts of functions to come at the best function which is representative for the data given the objective you've given it. So that is what the process of the machine in machine learning comes from. And learning, because the machine is not going to do this as a one shot exercise, it will continue doing this iteratively till it comes to the best answer based on the objective which you have given it. So that is what machine learning means. Now, artificial intelligence is the quest for building something which is humanoid, something which is conscient, which is cognitive like human beings. So something which can think like human beings and perform tasks like human beings. Now, within that also, there are several kinds of artificial intelligence, right? Like the holy grail for artificial intelligence is basically to build a robot who basically can pass off as a human being, because they are able to reply to you. They are able to process whatever someone is saying to them and come up with a reply which is not pre-programmed, like they think of the reply. So something which is thinking. So that is artificial intelligence. But you have lower forms of, like sentient or very preliminary primitive artificial intelligence, like Alexas and Siris are very, very primitive forms of artificial intelligence. But you have others like, I've forgotten the name. There's a robot they built in Dubai, um, who could actually process thoughts, right? So that sort of then becomes artificial intelligence. But you can use, so how machine learning and artificial intelligence are related is because mostly to make an object think, you use machine learning algorithms. So you would use common machine learning algorithms to help the object in perform the artificial intelligence object. You'll use it to program the artificial intelligence object. So basically, machine learning becomes like one of the things you would do to program your AI.
Wow, this actually sounds like a wonderful job. So, can you please tell our viewers how they can get into this field of analytics and what are the different roles there and the skills that we might need?
Sure, sure. So, see, analytics is actually like a great leveler. So, you have people from all streams, from various educational backgrounds, working in analytics, right? So, I even know of mid-career executives, say, who are 35 to 40 years old, who have been doing something very different, and then they actually, learn data science or data engineering, so learn something about analytics and actually switch tracks. Okay, so it's basically like anyone can do it as long as you have the right aptitude and knack for it. Typically, the kind of people who enter into this field are either from a mathematical, statistical, um, engineering, specifically computer science, economics, or commerce background. So basically, if you've done anything related to mathematics and statistics in your undergrad, postgrad, then you are well placed into going into analytics. Um, Also, there are several, like even if someone has done, say, a course in English literature, and they want to go into analytics, they can still do that because there are many amazing courses, freeware courses out there on Coursera. There is MIT Learning, edX. All of these offer great courses which actually build great foundations in analytics and machine learning. Also, there are several now nano degrees and distance learning degrees or part-time sort of programs or full programs like Great Lakes programs, which actually get you into this field of analytics and the different kinds of roles. So there are several like actually, you'll find nuances in these roles as well, but typically the kind of roles which exist are those of a data analyst or a data miner. Now, a data analyst or data miner basically may not utilize advanced machine learning algorithms. They basically utilize, say, simple tools like Excel, PowerPoint, Alteryx, Tableau to gather insights from data. So they also help in doing things like making reports, right? So if you have a lot of data, just, if you simply view the data in a structured format, you can make a lot of like, you can get a lot of insights from just that, like something like, because of coronavirus, if you are just able to see all your data in a particular place, you can you can derive insights like, because of coronavirus, the sale of a particular product of mine has increased, whereas the sale of a particular other product has decreased. So data analysts basically help in looking at your data in a structured format and getting basic insights from data. Then there are data engineers. Now, what data engineers do is they help in ingesting data. So as I said, right, like you are scrolling on Facebook, you're scrolling on Insta, you order from somewhere, all of that data is being captured, but it is being captured in different ways. You capture it in different sorts of data formats in different software. So dealing with all of that data, getting it into one place, making decisions like where should all of that data reside, right? Like we produce on a daily basis a company, a mid-sized company, say, which is serving 5 to 6 states, would be producing at least like 150 to 200 petabytes of data in an hour. So that's a lot of data. So where do you store all of that data? If someone wants to get like what was the sales for a particular product in on 15th Jan 2019, if someone wants to get that information, how will they be able to query that information? How can you get that information from this like huge mountain of data which you've created? So data engineers help with just structuring your data, cleaning your data, ingesting it, and keeping it in in a readable format. Then there are data scientists, which is what people like me, who then utilize this data and utilize advanced machine learning techniques to basically get insights from data which can help your business. Then there are machine learning engineers. So what machine learning engineers do is, suppose now I build an algorithm, okay, but typically what I would do is I would only build it on a very small number of a small sample, because my objective is to make an algorithm which works. So I'm going to be using various algorithms, various machine learning techniques to find the best one for my purpose. Once I have decided which algorithm suits our purpose, then a machine learning engineer takes that and he or she scales it up. So scales it up in the sense that now you want to roll this out to, it's a global business, you want to roll it out to all the countries. How will someone, see it? Like, will it get delivered through an app? Will it get delivered through, you log into like a server, and then you will be able to see, whatever insights there are. So all of that a machine learning engineer decides. So that's like machine learning engineer, which basically helps in scaling up a data scientist job. And then there are tech architects, infra architects. Basically, they help in um, deciding things like, now you've made your algorithm, you have all of your data. So which sort of platform should it reside on? I think it's getting a lot of, it's very technical, but basically if you've heard of cloud services like Amazon Web Services, Azure Cloud, so they'll decide whether you should use Amazon Web Services, whether you should use Azure Cloud, how much space should you get. So all of that then gets decided by the tech architects and the infra architects in analytics. So those are the main roles. But essentially for me, if you have the aptitude, and you have, a knack for statistics and mathematics, even if you do a lot of these online courses, you'll get a good flavor of what kind of problems you solve using analytics, and you'll also be able to get into this field.
Thank you so much. So, with so much information and insights, we come to an end of today's episode. We would like to thank you for this insightful and delightful session and for taking out your precious time for us. Thank you. It was an amazing, knowledgeable, and enlightening session for all of us. And I hope that all of you would have enjoyed this as much as we did. Hope to see you all at yet another session. Till then, take care, stay safe, and thank you.